Well, when people look back at the 2015 Arizona State football team, the theme of that is going to be lost opportunities in the fourth quarter and not being able to close out games. For the Sun Devil source, Chris Cartman, I'm Jordan Ham with Sports 360 AZ, and we just wrapped up a crazy Cactus Bowl, 43-42 loss to West Virginia. Like so many of these games as of late, the Sun Devils not able to close it out.
Absolutely. You kind of expected this was going to happen given the way that the season's gone for ASU, and maybe especially in light of the fact that the last time ASU played here, it was a shootout, 45-40, Insight Bowl. Rudy Carpenter kind of led ASU back, but this time it went the wrong way for ASU. And it's just a microcosm of their inability to close out games all season. 5 losses, as you said. In the last 5 games they've lost, they had a fourth quarter lead. Prior to that, I think they've only lost 1 game in the Todd Graham era in which they had a halftime lead. So that's a quite remarkable thing. I asked Graham about that after the game. There really was no answer. It's just kind of one thing that's in the stars for ASU this year, and it just they just couldn't win those games.
Giving up the big play was a big issue for them tonight as well. 395 total yards in the first half. West Virginia was almost up to 700 total yards by the end of the game, and the secondary really struggled tonight.
Well, look, Jordan, I mean, ASU came into this game last in the country in giving up explosive plays of 40 or more yards in the pass. Tonight, there was like 17 of them or something like that. I mean, 17 explosive plays of 15 yards or longer that West Virginia hit on. They were all over the place. At one point in the third quarter, West Virginia was averaging 23 yards per completion. And Quishy Brown has struggled just so bad, really in the second half of the season. Washington State picked on them, Cal, Arizona, same thing here. ASU took them out of the game. It didn't really solve the problem. They just had no answer really in the secondary, playing coverages that they really hadn't played much of to start the season. But if you can't get to the quarterback and you can't cover on the back end, it's a recipe for disaster.
The special teams, there was a lot of good with that, with Zane Gonzalez going 4 for 5, did great on kickoffs, and you also have Tim White, who had some great returns. But on the sideline, it seemed like there were a lot of issues, and that could have cost the Sun Devils in this game.
A mixed bag. That return for 2 points was the first in ASU history. Matt Hawk struggled initially, but then had better punts as the game wore on. Gonzalez missed that 40-yarder, but other than that, did a good job. But taking a timeout when they had the wrong personnel on, when they were going to go for an onside kick, that's a big mistake because they should have just taken a penalty. They had no return yards in the game, West Virginia. Take a 5-yarder, kick the ball, you're going to end up in the same position, you save your timeout. The biggest mistake of the entire game, and Todd Graham admitted it right away in the press conference, was not going for 2 after the final touchdown. ASU was up 6 points, needed a 2-point conversion to make it 7 as opposed to the PAT. Didn't do it, inexplicably. No reason why that should happen. It's a very basic thing. Was there not a consultation with Slocum? Did Graham not know on his own? I don't know how it happened, but it can't. That's why ASU lost, a 1-point game at the end. So just coaching mistakes, miscues, all the things that we've seen throughout the season that contributed to this 7-loss year for ASU happened in this game.
A bright spot for this season, specifically the second half, has been Devin Lucien, and he was all over the place tonight. Really seemed to be the one target for Mike Bercovici that was able to kind of get the offense going when they were struggling in the beginning of the game.
Super reliable. He went over 1,000 yards for the season tonight. He had twice the yardage of any prior season of his college career. In just the last 3 games, he had over 500 yards. Now, that's a remarkable thing. That's more than he's had in any season. He did it in 3 games. If this kid was coming back for 1 more season eligibility, which he's not, he would be like one of the best receiving guys in the country, I would say. Instead, he's going to try to see if he can test well at the ASU Combine, maybe get at the ASU Pro Day, maybe get a Combine invite. We'll see what happens. But I think he deserves a chance because he's really only just starting to come into his own.
And looking ahead now to next year, you're going to be replacing a quarterback, quite a few people along the offensive line, quite a few people in the secondary. What do you think the roster is going to shape up to be for 2016?
And you have a new offensive coordinator. You got to solve your problems on the back end. You need more speed at secondary. You need to settle on a quarterback. You need to get your offensive line so that they can take pressure off of who that new quarterback is going to be. There's a lot of things that they have to get resolved. It doesn't look coming off of a 5, 6, and 7 season that they, have a lot of these things resolved. They don't. And so we're going to have to see how that shapes up into the spring and camp, and we'll certainly be covering it together.
And so for a team that was hoping to end their season in Glendale at the start of the year, they're quite a few miles east here at Chase Field, not able to get this one in the Cactus Bowl against West Virginia. Again, 43-42 for the Sun Devil Source. Chris Cartman, I'm Jordan Hama, Sports 360 AZ.